You guys are going to tell me that you're so bored with Mercury retrograde because you know what it's all about. Yeah, don't go traveling, travel delays, computers will break down, and things will just go wrong. You'll miscommunicate. That's not totally true. Some of it may be. Instead, Mercury is retrograding in this time between the earth and the sun, very close to the earth, where he becomes the magician, the magical one, the divine downloads, and the synchronicity. And this is a very beautifully rare retrograde as well. Why is it so rare? Doesn't Mercury retrograde happen 3 times a year for about 3 weeks? Yes, it does. But it's rare because we have an engagement with Pluto that we haven't quite seen since 250 odd years. And so I love the rarity of this. I'll explain how rare it is and why it's rare. And it's not just about Mercury going retrograde, it's about Mercury retrograde and in a relationship that's positive to the planet Pluto in Aquarius. And it's really pretty cool and exciting. There's a quote by the poet Maya Angelou, and the quote that I love by her is, and I'm going to read it to you. She says, "The need for change bulldozed a road down the center of my mind." The need for change bulldozed a road down the center of my mind is exactly what happens when there's a flowing and harmonious relationship between Pluto, the god of transformation, death, and rebirth, and Mercury, the mind, the ideas, also the knowledge and the understanding. And there's something very powerful because she was born, by the way, Maya Angelou, the amazing poet, with a flow energy between Mercury and Pluto in her natal chart. We're going to see this really picking up speed for the world, as this is a closing sextile, meaning it's the last act on a story that began January the 29th, 2025, when Pluto and Mercury joined forces in Aquarius. So this is the closing act. Mercury is going to be moving retrograde from the 6th degree of Sagittarius. He's going to head retrograde on November 9th. He will go all the way backwards to Scorpio, crossing that sign boundary on November 19th. And then he will continue to go backwards until he reaches November 29th. At that point, he's going to turn direct at 20 degrees of Scorpio, and he will cross back over the Sagittarius boundary on December the 11th. So those are some dates you might want to keep in mind. And it's what I like about this kind of energy going on here at this time is it's really activating the water trine that we have in our sky. There's a lot of planets. It's a once in a lifetime, first in a lifetime, beautiful grand water trine between planets in Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, and Mercury gets in the mix. So any of you who've been like going through it, huge water signs, all of October, November, we've been having these huge, rare, grand water triangles in the sky, distant triangles between outer planets like Saturn, or bigger, slower movers like Saturn, Neptune, and now exalted Jupiter in Cancer, Saturn, Neptune, and Pisces with the North Node. And this water trine experience, October, November, it really is rare. Okay, the last time we even had Jupiter flowing to a Pisces traveling North Node was back in 1894. So there's a lot of the sky that you can't compare notes to. It's not just any old Mercury retrograde. So we're going to go ahead and talk about your sign. I'll touch very lightly on some world events that may occur as a result of this retrograde. And if you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Lori Lothian. I am using the Western Tropical Zodiac Astrology system. This is not Vedic or sidereal astrology. I put fixed stars and minor asteroids in most of my stuff. We'll bring anything in that we might need to talk about today. But mostly I want you to be aware of one thing in this very specific time that we're in. This is a rare version of a Mercury retrograde. It's going to help you complete a grand finale on something you started in January of 2025. And I'll tell you what that is when I get to your sign. And if you're listening today for your sun sign or moon sign or rising, try all three. People ask me every time to explain it. So one more time, I'm going to tell you how it works. Your rising sign is your character simulation avatar. You come in like a spirit, you take a breath, and now here you are in this meat suit, and you're going to develop a personality, right? And you're going to look a certain way. And then the essence of you that incarnated into this form is the sun. It's your truer core essential self and your eternal nature. Whereas the moon is the mind, how you think about and feel about the whole story, you know? And the moon can be our enemy sometimes. It reflects the light of the sun, the true essence of who we are, and it can often distort it. So there's that. But in a practical manner, the moon can represent your domicile, your home, your safety, your nest. And while the sun can represent your soul, and the rising sign, your circumstantial characteristics of your life, the sun can also be connected to matters of purpose and career. So listen for all three. Over time, you get to see what is most accurate for you. Now, I'm having a weird day. I've had tech issues today, but I've got my old laptop while I wait for my new one to be repaired. It's all coming back to me crisp and clean and all fixed up. So hang in there with me. I'm a little bit out of it. It seems like my mind is like, oh, ready to take a nap, but let's get going. And if you're new here, hit the like button, subscribe. And I'm doing a free Mercury retrograde in the heart of the sun, cazimi. It's called a very powerful day on the November 19th timeframe from my holidays in Mexico. I will be doing that webinar. It's free, limited spots. However, it's more than half full. So if you want to get in, you have to look down below and subscribe. And if you want to buy my 2024 all signs bundles, really, it's your sign and it's your sun sign and your moon sign, and it's your friends and family signs. Why not? For a mere $44, you're going to get more than 24 hours of video content, private links that no one else can see, plus a PDF guidebook. Get that content down below at the pre-sale price of $44 as I record and make those videos this month. And that will be delivered to your inbox on December the 1st. Time your best life in 2026. And will still be for sale in December, but it'll be $66. If you want just your individual sign, it will be for sale for $33 in December. So why not get 12 signs for $44? Makes sense to me. All right. It's a fundraiser. I'm not going to keep talking about it. I get exhausted. I'm really exhausted. I'm not liking sales. It's not my thing. If you want to get it, get it. All right. So, see, I do this old school stuff, right? This is Lori. This is how I operate. Okay. So rather than me yatter, and sometimes I make you little drawings, but not today. Let's take a look at this. It's really, really warm in here. Again, one of those days where the air is changeable. Let's have fun. Let's have fun together before I show you the sky. Now, what you're looking at here is my notes for myself. And I'm telling myself Pluto and Mercury will have co-joined and they will also sextile. So January 29th, Mercury is conjunct Pluto. And February 24th, Mercury is conjunct Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. However, that's what you're seeing. The challenge there is that Mercury co-joined Pluto in February 24, but he never got to Sagittarius. Well, he did, but he never got to sextile, a closing sextile after almost a year. He never got to do that because Pluto was not quite fully established yet in the sign of Aquarius in 2024. And so we never had a Mercury in Sag, right? A Mercury in Sagittarius flowing in a harmonious angle to Pluto in Aquarius. We just didn't get that before, right? You have to trust me on this. So this is a first in a lifetime. It'll be in my title. It will be real. It's a first in a lifetime energy. What I want you to notice is these dates. I want you to write this down. October 30th, behind us, November 17th, and December 12th. Why? Because at that point, Mercury will absolutely do something important. Round a day or two before each of these. October 30th is behind us. November 17th is coming, and December 12th is obviously coming. This is when he goes direct, retrograde, and direct in a perfect sextile called a partile sextile to Pluto in Aquarius. Now, this is the stuff I've already told you, but if you want to screenshot my messy handwriting, go for it. Right? Retrograde Mercury, November 9th, 6 degrees Sag, crosses into Scorpio on November 19th, backwards, retrograde, over the sign boundary. And then he will be at 20 degrees, turning direct on November 29th, no longer retrograde. So our retrograde zone is November 9th to the 29th. And then he will, by December the 11th, be crossing back into Sag and be in Sag until January 1st. Okay, so for you Sagittarius, these are the dates to watch. For you Scorpios, these are your dates to watch. This is what I want to talk about today. Grab a screenshot. So because Pluto is not only in Aquarius firmly established, where he used to be in the 1700s, 250 years ago, he's also what we call in the South declination. I have a great video on it called Pluto Unleashed. On August 29th until November 29th, Pluto is unleashed because he is, or 27th. He's in what we call the South declination. He's out of bounds from the sun's trough between the Cancer, Capricorn, and Cancer on the ecliptic. This simply means he's out of control. He has no leash. The sun is not holding him on a leash, and he can do what the hell he wants. Just like you ran away from home and your parents can't tell you what to do, But when he's in the south declination instead of the north brings us tyranny and dictatorial energies that power over the people. The last time Pluto was out of bounds in the north declination, we saw Hitler, Mussolini, we saw Stalin, we saw the World War II treaties that were formed, we saw the formation of the Central Intelligence Agency, and we saw the formation of the International Monetary Fund. And we saw the formation of the nation of Ai in the Middle East. All of these things were under this oppressive energy of power over people, which is the nature of Pluto, out of bounds, out of control in the north side of the declination. But when he's in the south declination, historically, he's been people take power over. That would be the French Revolution. That would be the American Revolution, to get out from underneath the British rule, to get out from underneath the aristocratic noblemen and all of that, and the peasants revolted in France. Peasants, well, not really peasants, but anyway, you are also in this time that will last for 10 years. For the next 10 years, we're all going to have the people rising up against the governments, against the oligarchy, against the plutocracy, against the technocracy, against anything that holds us down. If I know there's suppression of speech, I know there's a fear of digital IDs. It doesn't matter. This is always played out historically throughout every historical South declination period. The people rise up against the people who are suppressing, oppressing, and controlling them. So we have something new and fresh to experience, and it's going to be every kind of July, August through to November or December. Every fall, it's really active, but it's sweeping through a decade. And this is why this is really exciting. Think about it. Mercury is investigative information and news. Pluto is secrets and things that are buried and hidden from view and cloaked from view. And now Mercury is working with Pluto to reach an agreement, a sextile, a friendly handshake about empowering the people with information of some sort. And because Scorpio is so active, and when Mercury is in Scorpio, he can be a disclosure of secrets, a whistleblower. We're likely to see this story of his retrograde involve particularly powerful disclosure information for the world of things that have been kept hidden purposely from our view. Where is those pictures of three eye atlas that were taken October 2nd? What really happened to Charlie Kirk? What is really going on with those Epstein files? Why is Kash Patel looking so bad in his job? Those are some stories I could come up with. What are the real motives for the peace plan in the Middle East? Who are the real power players? What's the real deal? Secrets will be revealed because Mercury tells the truth when he's in a flow to Pluto. He wants to get powerful transformation through information that has been covered up and can be uncovered. When Mercury is moving through the sign, of Scorpio in particular, which will be November 19th, when he crosses backwards into Scorpio. When he does that crossing back into Scorpio, he's also going to bump into a powerful, beautiful, intense kite formation pointing at Uranus for shock and awe. And I've covered this on my moon video coming up for the Scorpio new moon. And that's coming out a few days after this video on a Thursday. So stay tuned for that. But Mercury coming into the bottom of a kite and holding the handhold and hitting shock and awe Uranus around November 19th, 20th, and 21st. You can damn well expect something major to blow out in the news cycle about disclosure, whistleblowing, discovery, revealing and uncovering something that was hidden. And it will be a big, big deal. And it involves Scorpionic people as well as Candace Owens. Candace Owens has her Mercury at 28 degrees of Taurus. And that's the tip of the kite with a new moon and Mercury at 28 degrees of Scorpio. And so what does Candace do? She speaks, she talks, she informs, she investigates, she's using her voice and information. She gives people information. Mercury, she's got her Venus and Sun in Taurus. That's who she is. And what we don't know her birth time, I don't know her rising, but we see that energy in her chart gets highly whipped up into some intensity November 19th, 20th. And then whistleblower type disclosure, Mercury, a disclosure guy, will stay in Scorpio to blow more whistles through to November 29th. You can say then that November 19th to 29th is hella intense. Also could be a time of an earthquake and a tidal wave. All right, this is your world astrology. Why? Because Uranus is retrograde into Taurus, shaking the earth. Mercury and the stellium in water, Jupiter in Cancer, North Node, Neptune and the sea god, and Saturn of hardship, etc., in water. It could be also breaking of a dam. That could be another example, but there's something big going on. Flooding, floods of water, damage with water, shaking earth. That could involve tsunamis, tidal waves, whatever. That energy is very strong, November 19th to the 29th. Finally, the stock market of the United States is got a sun on the star Algol. Uranus is retrograding back to Algol. Algol is a star of decapitation. It's also a star of wealth. The founders of the New York Stock Exchange were occultists and masons, and they knew to take that wealth star for it because it's a Bohemian wealth star for magic. But it's a dangerous demon star and it's unpredictable. And there's reasons. It's a binary star. It's a 3-star system. It blinks on and off. If you catch that star when it's blinking off, or on, it's going to make a big difference in the energy. So there's something going on with Algol, the demon star, on the New York Stock Exchange sun that's going to be activated as soon as Uranus goes back into Taurus. And he's going back into Taurus November 7th to next year, April 26th. But he's also getting mucked up in this big, intense Kite with a Mercury opposition, and Mercury rules the markets. So I would anticipate a really big shock to the stock markets could occur, could be a black swan event, could be a natural market correction. I can anticipate that happening in our world sometime after November the 19th through to the 29th, when we have Mercury in Scorpio opposite Uranus in Taurus, activating the stock market of the United States, New York Stock Exchange, natal sun. Okay. So there we go. It's a New York Stock Exchange, and that's what I'm thinking is going to shake up the markets. All righty. So those are my world astrologies. I'm not going to do much more on that. Who are involved in the stories would be like any scorpionic figures. Joe Biden. Maybe he's going to be sick enough to pass. King Charles. Step down for health reasons and arrange for William to take over, perhaps. Situations with, these are Scorpios, situations with any strong Scorpio person, place, or thing. Vladimir Putin may be a Scorpio rising. We may see some stories about the war in Ukraine or his health and fear of, he's got a lifelong fear of being poisoned. He's got the tail of the scorpion stinger on his Mars in his natal chart in his second house of what he puts in his mouth. Thematically, with Mercury moving through Sagittarius and through Scorpio, it's going to be Mercury closer to about late November, early December, crossing over Mars in the chart of Vladimir Putin. His Mars is around 23 degrees of Sag. So there's Putin stories, could be health, could be just conquest and winning land that he wants to have. He's very strong to win the land that he wants, in this war against Ukraine. And finally, as I said, because Candace Owens has all these Taurus placements, Sun, Venus, Mercury, this whole energy of the transit through Scorpio, not only of the new moon, not only of a fallen Venus or exiled Venus, not only of Mercury, really pulls her into the story, right? Her Sun, her Venus, her Mercury are all involved. All right. So those are people I'm thinking of off the top of my head. If anybody else has some ideas, the Sun of the nation of I in the Middle East, the IL nation, not the IR. It has some turbocharge from all of this as well. The sun maybe, I can't remember exactly, 21, 23 maybe degrees of Taurus, and it will be highly activated by Mercury as he moves through the sign of Scorpio. But, I think Mercury turns around direct November 29th at 20 degrees of Scorpio, directly opposite the sun of the nation of I, the nation who has turned into a parking lot, another neighboring area. All right, so let's get going. My new laptop, my old laptop, this is my old laptop, and I look blurry to me because there's a damaged camera. The new laptop is being fixed. Apparently, the liquid damage wasn't so bad. They just had to replace the keyboard. It all came back to life after drying out. But I ever look at myself, I look like I'm all blurry for some reason. And then someone said they like this better. There's no difference between my old laptop at all and this one, other than the camera isn't broken. And I have some integration problems with Zoom. So All right. I'm not going to be doing a card draw today. This is too complicated. I'll be here for 4 hours. I'm not going to do card draws for every video I do. Maybe I'll make it every Sunday. We add a tarot element to it. I'm getting compliments and I'm getting consideration. Some people don't like it at all. They're skipping over it. Maybe that's why my watch time is down. So I think I'll say, okay, every Sunday we do card draws with the astrology. Other videos, we don't bother with it. But I don't take time away from the astrology to do the card draw. I tell you everything I see in the astrology and I complement it with the card draw. So it's not to the detriment of your astrology, just to say that, Okay, let's go ahead, take a look at the sky. Yes, it's easier to share. No glitches on the old MacBook Pro and the old software on it. Here we have just the sky. We're going to do your sign. We're not going to spend a lot of time here, but I want to try to give you the best I can. And I gave you the dates I'm really wanting to focus on: October 30th, November 17th, and December 12th, when Mercury, for the first time in a lifetime, hits up Pluto in a sextile. So here's where we are right now. So I have it geared for a Aries rising chart. And you can see I'm recording on November 5th, the day of the Taurus full moon. And you can see right here, Mercury is at 5 degrees of Sag. And as he goes forward, now you'll see him retrograde at 6 degrees. He doesn't get very far in. What's this mean? Are you a Sagittarius, right? With a planet, sun, moon, or rising or something. Let's go sun, moon, or rising in the first 6 degrees. You're getting a lot of wiffle waffle back and forth on something, right? Should I go this way, that way, this way, that way? You're very changeable. You won't know the full lay of the land and what decisions you're going to make, Sagittarius folk, until after December 11th, when you get a grand return of Mercury back to your sign. So in this back and forth, just watch what happens. We're going to just do it together just for fun, right? Now he's going back, he's going back, and he's going back, and he's going back. And here he is at 1 degrees, and then a little further, boom, 0. But it's around this time that he will have a conversation. This is November the 17th. And he's going to talk to Pluto, 1 degree and 1 degree. What a holy man that is, right? And did you know that when you see this kind of energy, it's connected to whatever happened around Halloween, October 30th, give or take a day, because that was his direct path. So he's going to revisit something. Renn Butler says some key words would be intense and powerful criticism, destructive, effective truth, the breakdown of philosophical models, transformation points in views, exploded beliefs. You believed that Tyler Robinson was the shooter. Let's explode that belief. You know what I'm saying? Some beliefs will be exploded. You can also say that aggressive dogma, propaganda, and tendencies toward mental domination, intellectual power struggles, and philosophical and destructive gossip are some of the shadow qualities of this energy of Pluto and Mercury. However, because it's a sextile, this energy is called a sextile. It's the nature of Venus. It's 60 degrees away. It's meant to be harmonious. And so I doubt we'll see the shadow. We'll see more of a need for change bulldozer road down the center of my mind with exploded beliefs and the destructive effect of truth. I called my November Substack overview. I had the word truth bombs in there. I couldn't use that in YouTube because bombs will be disqualified. The word, they won't understand the metaphor, but truth bombs will be landing on the doorstep of November with this retrograde Mercury storyline. So first of all, he's digging up some dirt here. Now, you guys notice, by the way, that Mercury is also going to cross the sign boundary and go back into Scorpio. And that's important for any of you Scorpios, because you're going to go back and deal with Mercury and reinvestigate something you've been working on in its direct motion through your sign earlier. Look at this. This is the Kite, right? What can I say? There's going to be a new moon, 28 Scorpio. Mercury's in it. Venus exiled. Mercury's going to hit this shock and awe. There's the weather. There's the stock markets. There's Candace Owens' Mercury right up here getting in the mix. It's going to involve those types of folks for frigging sure. And then he continues to go backwards. And eventually he's going to make it all the way back in time. Oh, did I go too fast? I did. Sorry about that. To 20 degrees here. And now he turns around right around the time of November the 29th, right? He's now going to be direct. That's really almost directly across from the sun, which represents the leadership and power structures and the identity of the nation of IL in the Middle East. Okay. Hopefully you know what I'm talking about. I can't imagine that it's positive in any particular way with Uranus, a shock and awe god on the other side. This is the nation of I is a Libra rising right here. This is its second house of its economy, its money, it's what it has in the bank, so to speak, money that it has from other countries or loans or whatever. This is also the house of, in mundane astrology, this is the house of mass death of the people. So not that I wish that on anyone, but you'll see Mars is sitting here in Sagittarius, where he fires off kinetic devices that fly through the air that start with the letter M. And so he's a warrior throwing darts or bow and arrows out in the sign of Sagittarius. And this is exactly important because a Leo 17-degree rising over here, nation of Iran, is going to be benefiting from this Mars flowing to it. And it's at almost exact trine. So again, maybe the situation of poking at the neighbor finally, because obviously Israel's a bad neighbor to its neighbors, is going to backfire and a retaliatory event occurs, and it doesn't do very well for the people of the country of IL. Okay, those are potential possibilities. We don't know for sure. With a Leo rising 17 degrees and an Aries sun, you know, the nation of I with its Leo rising 17 is square Mercury and square the bottom of this kite that will be forming as well on the 8th, 19th, and 20th. But this is more intense. Mercury is literally, it's squaring the nation of I here very tightly. So it's a consideration that something big is happening in information, disclosures, news, maybe weapons here. And this is the third house of the nation of I, which represents its neighbors and neighborhood. And so there's kinetic devices coming from its neighbors. That's what I got for you. That's your world astrology. Now, hopefully those of you who love it, loved it. And those of you who don't, you didn't even watch it. You're going to move on. You're going to listen to your sign. I'm going to give you a titch of advice. Not a lot, just a little bit. I'm excited to tell you. But just think about it this way. Where can you break free to be unleashed, to be out of bounds in your own life with no one controlling you, no power suppressing you? Sometimes we're our own worst controller, but this is different. This is empowering you. This is where you can push off the shackles of something that suppresses you, as a Pluto out of bounds through to the end of November is activating with Mercury, most specifically November 30th behind you, November 17th coming, and December 12th, the very grand finale. It gives a lot of weight to November 17th because we have Pluto still out of bounds, Mercury sextiling, and that's going to be very, very powerful and very, very important. Let's cover your sign. Let's get going. Don't forget, if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. My Patreon community is going to get this before you. I'm recording on Wednesday, November 5th, and they'll get this probably tomorrow on the 6th after it's timestamp for them. So if you'd like to get content with no ads before the public, come join me. We have teaching classes, we have Zoom rooms, we have tiers, and it's a lot of fun over there. I'll see you over there as well if that interests you. Starting in December, I'm going to have a membership channel here, and you'll be able to join me for Saturday salons, where I'm going to go live for about half an hour, members only. So I can't wait to open that up as well. We're just going to chat about astrology, I'll take your questions, etc. Okay, so let's get going. Let's go back to the sky. Let's tell a story. And what is astrology? Astrology is stories you tell about the sky. You make stories up, and they tend to be true. So here we have. We'll start with the Aries. I'm going to fix the chart though. I know, because I know it won't be able to rotate it because I changed the setting, whole sign houses, to another system. Okay. And we're going to go backwards. And I'm going to go to November 17th at this point for the simple reason that that's the epicenter of the second Pluto Mercury event. So take note, November 30th, November 17th, December 12th, and Mercury retrograde as a general principle. What does it mean? All right, for your sign. So Mercury, Aries, sun, moon, and rising, first in a lifetime. Mercury has never come into this closing sextile from an initiatory moment, January 29th, when you seeded something in your Aquarius sky. As an Aries, that's going to be, you want to accomplish something. You're going to keep doing this, by the way, every year until 2044. You want to accomplish something profound, revelatory, transformative. You want to dig under the surface. You want to communicate with depth, but you want to activate also wealth, because Pluto is a wealth planet in a money house. What kind of money is it? Career gains. Every Aries can become quite wealthy until 2044. Mercury's giving you ideas. He's giving you something to think about. He's giving you possibilities of communication successes, success involving powerful, rich, and influential friends and people. And every time Mercury hits up Pluto, like this is January, right? 29th last year, something is seeded, something is initiated here. As an Aries rising, it was January 29th to February 1st that I crossed the mark to 100,000 subscribers. And then for some reason, the algorithm must have boosted me, and I had a really intense high profitability month on my ad revenue, on my views, etc. So for me, it looked like a nice boost in my career, in my gains. 11th house is the gains of the 10th. So profits from the 10th, profits from my career. So that's the seed. But what's going on here is Mercury is now going to flow to Pluto like he did on Halloween, October 30th, like he's doing as he approaches Pluto on the 17th, and as he's going to do again on December 12th. From Sagittarius, from the first time in your life. So while Pluto is sitting there just waiting for the conversation, Mercury's ready to deliver something to him, but it's old news. Go back to around October 30th, around the time, day or two before, because there was already that conversation between Mercury and Pluto. And it's now going to go deeper. It's going to be excavated. It's going to be taken a second look at. Something wants to be revealed here. The 9th house is foreign lands, foreign shores, things to do with court and legal cases, matters to do with third marriages, matters to do with publications, podcasting, like Substack or a podcast. These are very 9th house matters. And also academics, going to academia. And so all of that energy was doing something October 30th, going back, readdressing it November 17th, and then digging back in on December 12th. And there's no one or nothing that can stop you. You're unleashed. Pluto's unleashed. The next thing you need to know is just a general idea. The retrograde is starting in Sag, tracking back to Scorpio and going back to Sag. So it kind of indicates that basically between November the 9th all the way through to December the 11th, because that's when Mercury gets back to Sag, you're kind of contemplating matters to do with foreign countries and visas and travel and learning and education and academia and court matters and 8th house stories, other people's money. That can be inheritances. That could be money that you get from ad revenue, royalty income, book publishing royalty income, money that you get from a spousal separation agreement. And there's courts involved. So there's a lot of back and forth here between monies, travel, courts, other people's money. All right, back and forth, back and forth. This is also Mercury going through the house of the dead, and he's quite capable of giving you dreams from the dead people. So look for dreams from the dead or information from those who've passed coming through your chart on November 19th to the December 11th, while he's straight ahead and returning backwards in Scorpio. You might have some deep understanding of the deep mysteries of life, the occult mysteries as well. And you may take that deep understanding to the 9th house and teach a course on it, or start a podcast on it, right? This is Next Level Soul podcast, right? Or this is Amrit Sandhu stuff. It's like you go into the occult 8th house and you get some juicy understanding of mysteries and the life beyond the egoic self. And then you move into the 9th house and you want to get on a pulpit and preach it to the world. And our modern day pulpit of the 9th house is our outlets, like a podcast series or a Substack series or something like that. The platforms are the 3rd house. The product is the 9th. Okay. Moving forward to talk about you guys, the Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Well, I'll get to you. I promise. Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising. So first in a lifetime, it really is, that we have Mercury from Sag forming a closing sextile to Pluto in Aquarius. This is a seed that you planted January 29, 2025 in your 10th house of career and reputation. This is also a house of weddings. This is where people see you getting, put in your casket or going down the aisle. It's a house to public, visible things, including ritual ceremony. This is also your 10th house of just your career and how it plays out in the eyes of the world. So you planted a seed for a new start. Mercury was liking to help your new start get underway, and he rules your 2nd house of money, Gemini 2nd house. So a lot of it can look like he really wants you to find something that's going to bring you the money you want, but also inspires you to have a little more fun and to use your natural gifts and talents. And that's the 5th house. That seed was planted in January of 25, and it is the closing act. Okay, it's a final storyline. And as Mercury does this final grand finale, so to speak, right? He does it in three interesting parts because on October 30th, November 17th, and December 12th, those three pieces, he is in this sextile to Pluto. Pluto and Mercury in the 8th house is very much profound secret reveals. Okay. I don't know what your secrets are, guys. It could be something to do with your 4th house, secrets about your family of origin, or it could be secrets about your marriage partner because he will retrograde, or it doesn't be a secret. It could be a shocking reveal. Like, oh my God, what do you mean you're gay? I thought we were a thing, that kind of stuff. Or there's something you just didn't know about the past of your partner and love and commitment, but there's something that wants to be revealed that is hidden. And that's not only the Pluto story, but it's also the Mercury story. And you're going, what's that have to do with my 10th house? Well, maybe some revealing information about your significant other changes your marital status. Or maybe there's going to be some shifts going on in your career, but you have to deal with some deeper, darker stuff to do with your long, bank loans, mortgages, credit cards. You could also get a sign-on bonus or a severance package out of this and get a big amount of ka-ching during this cycle. Mercury going back into Scorpio, crossing over there on November 19th through till December 11th is indicative of going back to focus on your relationship. Some significant long-term love relationship most likely is demanding your attention, and you're going to revise and revision some agreements you've made with that person. And some of these may be financial agreements because, of course, Mercury goes back to the house of shared resources. So you're going back and forth over that stuff. Now, legal agreements and vows can come into the 7th house, and 8th house is like banks and loans and mortgages and money from a sale of a property. There should maybe just be a lot of back and forth, negotiation, changes of direction, reconsiderations about that kind of stuff. And so keep that in mind. But where we see the other people's money and the banks and the loans and the mortgages really active is October 30th, November 17th, and December 12th. So nothing's moving in a straight line. It's a bit zigzaggy. Come to my Mercury Retrograde webinar that's happening as he's in the heart of the sun, November 19th. I'd love to see you there. It's free. Spots are limited. I sound like Jimmy Dore. All right. Moving on. Yes, it's not a long video today. I just spent almost an hour. How long did I spend? An hour and a half plus in my morning class, Q&A for Sky Reader, last Q&A. And I still not finished a Substack article on the moon. So I'm not going to rush you, but I'm just saying we're not going to spend forever here. Come to the Mercury retrograde in the heart of the sun webinar. You'll learn a lot. It's a guided meditation. Now, here we have a story where you're a Gemini rising or sun or moon. And it's a big, big deal for you, as you can only imagine, because you're going to see that Mercury will be moving in your house of significant long-term marriage partnerships here. And in fact, not only is he moving in this part of your chart, but for the first time in your life, he's talking to Pluto from this position in the house of marriage agreements, like a church, a synagogue, weddings up there, religious institutions, but also legal contracts and agreements, or foreign lands and distant shores. Now, Geminis, it is reminding you planted a Mercury seed here. This is book publishing. This is January 25. This is Substack because you're posting publications. I have a newsletter, but it's called a publication. Pluto Chronicles, and this is January. I planted a seed there. I sure did. I started in like November and I planted a seed to commit to regular writing there, and it's doing very well. So there's something going on up here where that seed that you planted is taking a new form. This is maybe a legal contract, a business partnership on some 9th house matters that are demanding your attention. But because you might have a significant relationship in your life and there's Mercury uncovering what is hidden, but in a positive way, it can be that you or your partner are uncovering something in the relationship, especially as Mercury is your ruler, that you had not been speaking to each other about. I don't know what it is, because Pluto is in the house of truth, knowledge, and wisdom, yet it's also a legal house. So, it could be like, oh my God, we've been together for 2 years and you didn't tell me you didn't divorce your wife. You have to still do that. Yeah, something like that. It's not too bad if you want to ardently communicate to your marketplace and audience something that you're passionate about, that you think is wise and true, and that is something that you could say is a impulsing you to serve humanity from a spiritual place and lob truth bombs into the public. But be careful here. And I speak to myself because I have a son here progressed, because Mercury is in Sag where he doesn't have all the details. And you may lob information into the public sphere. That seventh house is your audience from your 10th. And you may have backlash. And that Mars can be trolls, it can be anger. So I'm going to be very, very careful on November the 16th. I made the terrible, terrible mistake of saying I felt bad for Charlie Kirk's children when he was killed. I didn't know he was. I never heard about him to that day. And I lost like 100 subscribers. That's how weird our world has gotten. Forget about loving kindness, right? So I'll be careful. I'm going to be very careful on the storyline. This is like the November 17th, 16th, 17th sky. And I will be cautious about what I say to my public or into my audience sphere. But I'm also teaching the webinar around this time, right? So there you go. The last thing I'll say about this is that Mercury will backtrack into Scorpio. You'll be revising health routines, work matters, going back to rethink it. And you'll be doing that all the way from November the 29th to about December 11th, when he goes back into Capricorn. So there's a lot of, reframing, rethinking. Did I say that? No, he'll be back in Scorpio. I apologize. November 19th to December 11th. November 19th to December 11th. And there'll be a revising, rethinking, and renewing and redoing work, rental agreement contracts, and a pet situation and a health matter, and revising, rethinking, redoing it for some reason. I may be taking a new test. The other test was inaccurate. Yeah, my blood test doesn't seem right. Let's retest. All right, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. We have a first of a lifetime vibe coming through our sky with this particular Mercury retrograde. Now, first of all, remember that back in August of 2025, you planted a seed. The seed was Mercury conjunct Pluto. You'll be doing that till 2044, planting seeds over and over again here. And that's your 8th house of chunky money, retirement monies, like investment monies with the markets, your spousal shared resources, inheritance monies from the sale of a property. It comes in a chunk, money from tax rebates and tax situations, all of that. So that kind of money is very active for you till 2044. Mercury would like you to invest, perhaps. He's Mr. Markets, stock markets, mercantile. Pluto is wealth. So, and also, precious minerals can be Plutonian. So you are really focused a little bit on those things. That's going to be a priority for you in the next, 18 years. But also this time around, that seed that you planted in January is going to be met by now, finally, this Mercury sextiling Pluto from the retrograde story. Now, this is a house of work. This is a house of your job. This is a house of your tax structures. This is a house of your work. This is a house of bonus checks. This is something's going on here. This is a house of your health. Mars is very abrasive. Be careful. He'll be going through Sagittarius for a while. I have a video out on Mars and Sagittarius. Go watch it, because that Mars and Sagittarius can easily lead to you having a health challenge that's inflammatory, and including your hips. But that aside, he's in his joy, so it can't be too bad. He's always in his joy in the 6th house. So, you get a health challenge, but it's good for you to find out what's wrong. Injuries as well, accidents, be careful. Now, that's another story. In the meantime, Mercury is really busy working with Pluto. There's probably something on October 30th, November 17th, and December 12th, if you calibrate, that you can figure out that this is a story that keeps wanting to drill into the next layer and figure something out. Again, this is money, this is banks, this is loans, this is mortgages, but this is a house of secrets. Pluto is keeper of the cloaker of secrets and what's hidden from view. Mercury is the discloser and the digger of the information, with some news to be spoken. So there's something revealing some information or news to you. And Mercury is the real estate owner of your 12th house. This is people from far off lands and distant shores, or people who are hidden enemies. And Mercury is also the ruler of your 3rd house, which is siblings, but mostly the sibling one younger. So maybe the sibling one younger, some information, news, or revelations are coming through. And then as Mercury, of course, goes into Scorpio and gets some shock and awe with Uranus, you're definitely going to see something going on there to like support some information coming from someone that may surprise you. Again, we could go to the house of siblings and it may be a disconcerting news for sure at some level, but it may also just be surprising. In fact, you could find out somebody's pregnant under this sky and it surprises you as well, like a child is pregnant, and you're going to feel that energy coming through, or you're pregnant. Surprise, around November 19th and 20th as Mercury backtracks to Scorpio. He'll be in Scorpio from the 19th to December 11th. You'll be dealing with some information, discussions, focus on a child, entrepreneurial projects, projects that are creative and artistic if it involves writing or communicating. And you'll be doing a lot of focus on, if you have a romantic partner, your romantic and sexual life, and a lot of discussions between you and a significant romantic partner will be ongoing. If you're single, Mercury going through your dating house, fifth house, between, November 19th to the December 11th, it can just be a lot of emails, phone calls, and text messages. Or you're hearing from a romantic partner from the past and you're doing a lot of dialoguing with that person. And that would be true anytime actually between November the 19th and December the 11th. Okay. It's like winter out there. And it like is a howling wind and it's bitterly cold. Let me close my window again. But this apartment just heats up because I think I'm getting heat from people below me, cranking up their heat. And so I can't find my happy medium, guys. I'm trying. All right, Leo, I'm losing my voice. Leo, sun, moon, and rising. What can you say? You got a story going on where you planted a seed in January of 2020. January, what was the date? 29th, 2025. New seed was planted for you. And it is about your Aquarius significant long-term love house. Now, that seed that you planted back in January could have disrupted a relationship if any revelations or truth conversations that were deeply intimate, revealing, and transformative occurred or have been occurring throughout this whole year. The closing sextile is Mercury's job to finish this story up. Now, it's possible that there have been secrets revealed to you, to your partner, if you have one, or from your partner to you. And this now also gets into the sexual energy. This is the fifth house. Go back to October 30th, November 17th, and we'll finish it up December 12th. There is something going on, something important, where something to do with sexuality and romantic love, long-term commitment, and secrets revealed or information disclosed is important. Otherwise, information from or about one of your children and disclosures, because it might have been hidden, you're glad that they have been revealed, is nothing negative, even just information news about one of your kids if you have them. If you are single and you are starting to date somebody since January when this conjunction happened, you're asking for a relationship that is absolutely profoundly transformative and will change your life. Mercury will be giving you those kinds of communications, conversations with a partner that was nothing like lightweight. It's really intense. Okay, especially given that Mercury rules your house of speech. You Leos might find yourself in a relationship, if one began since January, that you can speak in a more truthful and revealing way, more so than you've ever been able to do before to that person. At the same time, I'm not going to lie, Pluto here with Mercury on November 16th, 17th, with the cutting of Mars, could be an exit from a long-term romantic love relationship or a dating relationship where somebody wants to call it quits. I wouldn't be surprised at that. I wouldn't start a relationship brand new here with Venus squaring Pluto. So avoid that as a fresh start. Don't start something new at that time. Mercury will go backwards into your fourth house, property, land, real estate. Mercury in Scorpio probably gave you some ideas about where you want to live or your home. You were doing some writing projects from the home, but then he left Scorpio, right? He went, bye Scorpio. Went into Sagittarius. And that would have been around Halloween. Okay, went into Sagittarius around Halloween. By November 9th, he decides he's going to go backwards. And then we get him, okay, I'm back in Scorpio. I got to finish up that loose end, November the 19th to December the 11th. It could be good for contracts and agreements regarding rental properties. It could be good for discussions and conversations in the home that you tried to have earlier, like October 30th, but now you can get it off the ground, or October 29th, I should say. And maybe you're also got something going on in the home where it involves like contractual agreements and selling and marketing. This would be the kind of transit that's been taking you a while to consider whether or not you want to sell a property. And that might be now the turning point around property sales and property purchases. And it also could involve spousal separation agreements as well. Anyway, Mercury back in your fourth house could also just mean there's a lot of conversation going on in the home, and he'll be backtracking there, or a lot of thinking in the home, or a lot of ideas generated in your home from your home. And you may also get a lot of emails and phone calls from your mother if she's still alive, and be interfacing with her a lot more. It's the house of the mother. Again, the dates are November 19th to the 11th. Well, Mercury's backtracking and turning around in Scorpio. Okay, I'm going to get some water. I'm not even going to stop the recording. Virgo, ever patient, right? Are you guys steadfast and willing to wait? Your earth signs for me. But on the other hand, you are mutable. You're very Jekyll Hyde. Give me a minute. I have a water need. Water is needed. We're just going to call a spade a spade. I do need water in my life. It's a thing. It's a thing. Oh my God, guys. I think I'm tired. All right, Virgos, thank you for your patience. It is story for you of your Lord, just like Geminis. This is a planetary ruler of your sign, retrograding in Sagittarius into Scorpio, but connecting to Pluto in a first in a lifetime way. Now, first of all, the seed that you planted with Mercury, Pluto, like the generative energy you're trying to create, is something to do with work, maybe health, and also the release of addictions, because it's activating your 12th. So releasing addiction, self-undoing bad habits, also activating something new, fresh, powerful, and transformative in the work and job area. This can also invite you to consider whether you're interested in a pet. And this will be true for the next 18 years, because every year Mercury, Pluto jive there for you in a conjunction. And it can also be helping you kind of move towards more service in the world in a way that profoundly transforms your life to be more of service, like go to the soup kitchen or help other people, as well as still also transforms your job. And Mercury is the ruler of your 10th house of the career. So for you in particular, and you could probably feel it start up of February 24th of 2024, when the conjunction of Mercury and Pluto first happened in your sixth house, but they never really received support from the fourth. So one thing about the fourth house is where you live. And one other thing about the sixth house, it's rental property agreements. So I will give you that you may find that with Mars move and change and Mercury contracts and agreements and negotiations, that you might be looking at this November 17th energy, opening up a rental agreement contract to rent your property or to lease a property for yourself, or to change or move your home. One thing to remember is that October 30th, November 17th, and December 12th are beads on a necklace. Around October 30th, Mercury was here, but direct, talking to Pluto. Right now he's back on the 17th, talking to Pluto. Then he's back again, December 12th, direct, talking to Pluto from early Sag. And in that regard, nothing is going to be a straight line. If you're going to rent a property out, move your home to a new rental, if you're going to make some changes in your home that better your health, if you're going to get a new job that lets you work from home, if you're going to change your home because of a job opportunity, all of those are possible. Mercury is going to go back and forth to figure it out. And he may even say, well, why don't you consider moving back to a place you've lived before? Mercury retrograde, a neighborhood that you lived before, a city you've lived before. The retrograde Mercury can bring you back to a place that you used to live in as well as hometown, as well as homeland, right? Then Mercury will move into Scorpio on November the 19th. I talked about the Kite. It's a world event. I will readdress it in my week ahead astrology when time comes. And Mercury moved backwards into the sign of Scorpio, will move back November the 19th. and he'll be retrograde till the 29th, but he'll still stay in Sag till December 11th, in Scorpio till December 11th. So you're going to say November 19th to December 11th, I'm going back to retrace some undone business, some things that weren't finished up that needed to be considered back from the month of October. That's when Mercury was going direct in Scorpio. So this is about third house matters. The neighborhood, you want to change your neighborhood, the neighbors, the daily activities and places you go to and fro. It's the place of siblings, particularly one younger than you. It's also extended family of cousins and uncles, etc., and aunts. It can also be going back to retrace your steps on things to do with travel plans or writing projects or teaching opportunities or learning opportunities, skills-based learning, writing, did I say writing, and social media landscape. So even websites belong to the third house. So maybe you're going to go back and retool something. Maybe you started something, you didn't finish it in October. Now you're going to go back, you're going to revisit, and you're going to think about it because Mercury's retrograding represents information news. And these are people who live here, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, and nephews and nieces, and on it goes. You're probably going to hear from them. They're going to email you. They're going to phone call you. They're going to be in your face, particularly during the retrograde, November 19th to the 29th. So get ready to hear from those folks. I'm sure they would be glad to chat with you. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. So it is a first in a lifetime story. I promise I'm not making it up. It's not hype. So let's get to the details. As I said, you look to the conjunction and happened January 29th of 25, where a new seed was planted that you want to accomplish something in Aquarius. The Aquarius part of your chart is fertility, children, pregnancy, entrepreneurial and creative and artistic endeavors, and romantic love. So do you want to conceive a child? Do you want to start a new romance? Do you want to create an entrepreneurial side hustle or something like that? Do you want to create some artistic projects? You had that conjunction, as I said, everyone in the beginning in February of 24, but you didn't get a full complement of support from Mercury in Sag, which this time, first in a lifetime, you do. This has got more power to it and a better finish line. I have a Libra friend who retired from her counseling business or work in recovery counseling to start a full-time retired entrepreneurial side hustle. She was thinking about that in January 24. She's accomplished it in 25 since January 25. But now we're going to see something better happen for her. For example, I'm just giving you an example. And so the seed was planted in the fifth house, and single Libras, if you're looking for love, you could have a powerful new love story that transforms your very reality, because Mercury rules in your chart. Mercury is the dominion lord or the ruler. I love these ancient terms, right? Of your ninth house. And so some of you might find that romantic love with a person from a foreign country wouldn't be at all surprising. Or if you're entrepreneurial or creative, book publishing deals that knock your socks off could be coming off the original conjunction. And now as this Mercury is moving through this part of the sky, Sagittarius, this happened on October 30th, it's going to be retrograding November 17th, as you see in the sky, and back on December 12th. Mercury's doing a grand finale with Pluto. This is ideal for a book publishing deal, writing contracts, leading to publications. It's really positive for success in launching or succeeding in an already existing podcast or online platform that is bringing you inspiration, excitement, enthusiasm, and creative entrepreneurial zeitgeist energy. This is a really good grand finale as well, connecting you to the sibling story. If siblings are going to be supporting you in any way to transform that fifth house, this is where they're stepping out of the woodwork. Mercury, though retrograde, could also bring connections from the past, as I mentioned, into the story, connected to Pluto. Like, hey, I haven't heard from my sister in years, and she's emailing me. She wants to support my online business because she saw how great I am. I don't know, things like that. When Mercury then goes backwards and he will trundle into Scorpio, like he was there in October, right, to finish unfinished biz, he will retrograde into the Scorpio sky on the November 19th timeframe, activate an electric kite, but that's another story, and then continue backwards till November 29th. The 19th to 29th is a kind of 10-day window when money things from the past return to you. It's like you didn't finish something in October on the pocketbook, wallet, money, could do with loans, banks, mortgages, It could be anything. There was unfinished business in the financial front, and Mercury goes back to finish it up. So something from the past on the financial front is being redone again. And there may be some surprises with Uranus. You didn't expect to have to redo it. Even a tax filing, hopefully not an audit, might have to be redone. And because Mercury here is also connected to the south node of expenses in the 12th house, it could be an unexpected expense that you didn't really want to see. Like you have to cut a check on something that's really a lot more than you wanted or unexpected. Sorry, that's what I see. And that would be like November 19th to December 20th already. But it's also connected to events that happen in October. So, October, the basement floods. And then you get the estimate from the insurance company, and they're not going to cover most of it. And you have to cut a check, and you're like, give me a break. All right. And we're just making something up. And then December 11th, Mercury's done. He leaves Scorpio and he's complete. And you go back to tidy up some stuff in the third house. Hope that makes sense. I like this for entrepreneurs, creative artists. I like this for people. Would I pursue a new love story under this? Well, it's a possibility, but I'd wait till Venus gets into Sagittarius. But archetypally, there's something going on here that really looks good for business success, commercial success, entrepreneurial success, really heating up for you guys at this time. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising. Well, first in a lifetime vibes this coming Mercury retrograde cycle. But remember, the big deal story is that this is coming on the heels of a conjunction in your fourth house of home, property, land, and real estate. And this same conjunction happened in February of 24 and January of 25. My son's a Scorpio rising. And in the 24 February out of year, he was hoping to move his home with his wife to another home. It didn't happen for financial reasons. It wasn't a good time for them to try to do what they wanted to do. And so that was universe, a C block by the universe on something they had intended to achieve. But that conjunction happened January 29th, and it's still in play, by the way, until early next year. So they're still in the thick of should they move or shouldn't they? Because this is your fourth house, guys. This is legacy wealth from mom and dad, particularly down here. Either parent could be, but it's the house of mom. But when Pluto's there, it doesn't matter. It's like mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, whatever, money coming down the pipe from a significant family member is a possibility. They don't have to die. Maybe just give you the money, but wealth from the parental or family of origin structures is what Pluto's also up to here. And that's the seed that you planted back in January. And some of you, because Pluto's so transformative, if you do move your home significantly in the next till 2044, often people move like to a vastly different place, another country, or way the other side of the country, or a different culture. You were an urban, blue, democratic city dweller, and you moved to rural, Christian, right-wing Georgia or something, So you'd be in a transformative relocation, not any old thing. Now, Pluto is getting a nice eye on with Mercury, right? These two are having a convo that they didn't have in the earlier cycle. We haven't seen this one for 250 years, this energy. Mercury started talking to Pluto around Halloween, October 30th. What were you up to then regarding property, homeland, and real estate, money, possessions? You can also buy cars with this stuff, but it's that vibe, possessing a car, possessing a home, money for a home, money for a car, this energy. So this was October 30th, back on November 17th, retrograde. Oh, we didn't really get things going. We'll have to readdress it. We have to rethink it. And then December 12th, final grand finale. With Mercury as the ruler of your house of banks, loans, mortgages, and refi, this is very likely for some of you managing to secure some financing to sell, buy a property, or make decisions regarding selling a property. That's a possibility. Mercury also rules your house of career gains, and the South Node is giving you some dips in your finances right now. But this is also the house of long-range goals and dreams, and you might be revising those as Mercury retrogrades as well. Mercury retrograding in your second house is just a money retrograde. And around the 17th, Mars is there. You might be spending more than you prefer, or you might be ambitiously pursuing savings by cutting out expenses. But Mercury retrograde is bringing your attention to money issues that you hadn't fully fleshed out, that you were trying to work with but hadn't quite resolved from the end of November until about November 17th as Mercury went direct. So I want you to kind of think then of Let me think about it. Like, I want you to think about it roughly around October the 29th, 30th. Let's go October 30th. When you think about October 30th through until November 9th. Okay. October 30th to November 9th. What money stories were you facing? Mercury was direct. Maybe you wanted to buy, spend, sell. And then he had to go back and rethink it. Okay. And so there's something about that time that's reconnecting here. Mercury then comes back, of course, December 12th and finishes the whole deal. And then you know exactly which direction things are taking. And when I look at the idea that Mercury will come back into your sign, and he was there for much of October, before about the 30th, well, here he comes back to your sign, and he's going to ask you to reconsider your own mind. And it's often a change of mind. There's something you were considering, and you're going to have a change of mind. It's interesting as he retrogrades into your first house, you could change your mind about anything, about your children, about pregnancy, about your relationship, about your home, about your career. It's you looking at the world from the helmsman position and deciding what things you're going to reconsider and revise mentally. So changing your mind is a classic story. The ability to change your mind effectively, or the consideration of a change of mind, is really activated from November the 19th to November the 29th, when he's retrograde in Scorpio. And that's when your change of mind is happening. He turns direct on the 29th, and you execute your new clarity as you've made your mind up about something. Just remember, on November 19th, as he backtracks into your sign, there's an opposition from the house of marriage and significant relationship partner, and it's a surprise. It could be a pregnancy surprise with a North Node here, but there's something that you didn't see coming. So it may not be the most smooth transition as you change your mind about something. I thought we were going to wait to have a baby like for 3 more years. I guess I'll have to change my mind. All right. Think about it that way. All right. Let's see what happens next. Or, I don't even know. There's so many ways it could go. Hey, Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. Here we go. Basically, you are pretty well in the thick of it, as Mercury is going to retrograde in your sign back into Scorpio. But let's go back to the basic story. This is a Mercury retrograde tied to a Pluto cycle that began in January 29, 2025, with an earlier half-assed version of it, February of 24. That was the Pluto conjunction to Mercury in your third house, bringing your attention to the themes of travel, pilgrimages, neighbors, neighborhood, short distance travel, long distance travel. The axis is awake, things to do with a siblings in general. An older sibling could have been involved even. Your attention is focused on the neighborhood in which you live, the neighbors. It could be focused on social media environments, media environments, writing projects, teaching and learning projects, all consuming the Sages here with a restart button. And you're going to restart a button here with Mercury Pluto every single year until 2044. So it's going to get used to it, right? This is the mind, the house of the mind. And Pluto is what's under the surface. And Mercury is the revealer, or the information digger, the X-ray mind. So your mind is coming into a new type of mind where you're really digging under the surface to see things, to explore things, to be really sort of a genius of looking for what is hidden and finding the answers. However, with siblings being here, particularly a younger sibling, but siblings in general, there may be a lot going on in the life of a sibling, right? It may not all be about you. They may communicate to you stories that are Mercury Pluto, like toxic stories, betrayal stories, abandonment stories, all of that stuff. Wound stories from the sibling, especially one younger than you, but any sibling in general, Sagittarius, may be delivering the victim woe is me stories to your doormat for inspection. News of death of a sibling. Sorry. Doesn't have to be always that, but that's what it can look like. Every year you have a potential for that. Now, that happened to be a conjunction January 29th. So it's not that time. This is not the time for that, but it's to be considered a thing that goes on in your chart. And you're going to notice that this cycle takes us to a retrograde that begins November the 9th and completes itself on November 29th. And the retrograde is going to occur starting in Sag and go back to Scorpio. And as it does this, Mercury gets itself hooked up with Pluto in a very positive sextile that also occurred October 30th, reoccurs November 17th, and does one last hurrah on December 12th from direct, retrograde, and direct motion Mercury. And possibly what this can bring to you is some news or information connected to an aunt, uncle, cousin, niece, nephew, neighbor, or sibling information. That's all. Or you're informing them of something. If you're involved in writing projects or communicating, marketing, and selling, there might be some news, information, or rethinking of the way you're doing some of that stuff because of this transit. Mercury rules the house of marriage. Mercury rules your marriage partner. This could be some conversation with and about your relationship partner about trips, travel, and locale, especially neighborhood. Maybe it's time to change your neighborhood. Maybe you're not convinced it's a good idea. Maybe your spouse is pushing. Don't forget, Mercury's back here. Mercury's back here December the 11th to January 1st, and he's going to square all of this in your fourth house, which means a lot of pressure there in the relationship and in your life regarding a potential relocation. Maybe both partners are relocating, maybe one. This November 17th is really tough. Mars is aggressive, information. Someone's yelling at the other person. It's not a good relationship vibe for you at this particular time on November 19th, 20th, 18th, 19th, right? Mercury will backtrack, of course, as you know, into Scorpio. And as he does that backtracking into Scorpio, he's going to go back and rethink something. Okay, so Mars was in Scorpio, Mercury was in Scorpio, Mercury was in Scorpio for most of October. Then by the end of October, around the 29th or so, he moved into the sign of Sag. So go back to most of October. What were you thinking about? Ashrams, retreats, this is Scorpio, aloneness, conversations with prisons and hospitals. Someone maybe was there and you had to visit or talk to them. This is a lot of October. Now Mercury has to go back and readdress the Scorpio sky, and he'll be there November the 19th through to the 29th in retrogradation. So themes from the past return to do with the hospitals, distant lands, far off shores, people from those places, ashrams, time alone, spiritual contemplation, readdress it now, November 19th to 29th. Then basically Mercury will be direct and still here until the 11th, right? Still in this part of your chart. But now he's got a direct line on what's the next story. What does he want to do next? Where is he going to go next? Some of this could activate stuff to do with inheritance money, divorce settlements, property, land, and real estate during his Scorpio journey, November the 19th to December the 11th. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, first of all, here we have a sky that tells us that you are going to experience from the reset button of January of 25, a fresh start and a new beginning that empowers you in your finances. You tried to get it off the ground in February of 2024, and by the January of 25, maybe some changes happened in your money, but it didn't have support from Mercury in a closing sextile. So this is first in a lifetime, and it's powerfully positive. And it can really support you regarding a theme that you may want to consider activated through to 2044 of intensifying your wealth and growing your financial success. And as Mercury sits here on November 17th, he's activating a story that began October 30th. Then it goes to November 17th and completes on the December 12th timeframe. Always give a day or two on either side. It's Mercury in a 12th house place. It's very subtle. It's very hidden. It could be information or news about or from somebody in a hospital setting, a prison setting, or for somebody who is, or from yourself, from your contemplation, stillness, meditations, spiritual awakening energies. Some information or news is coming through, but it connects to power, transformation, regeneration in your finances. You could say as well with this kind of story, especially on the December 12th, when the direct motion Mercury activates Pluto, that with Mercury ruling or being in the boss of your sixth house of work, some of the money that increases in your life may come through a work opportunity, but it may be connected to someone, a company or a person who lives in a distant shore or even far off foreign land. Mercury does rule the foreign lands, ninth house particularly. And if you get a new career opportunity connected to foreign lands, it may be a foreign land that you've been to before. You hear back from some people the company used to work for, and South Node says you've been there before as well. So foreign land opportunities, job, work, past. Now, that's the story that you might see in 3 parts: October 30th, November 17th, and December 12th. Mercury will retrograde back into Scorpio around the 19th of the month as he goes back into Scorpio. And he'll be there until, remember this, December 11th. He's recovering ground that you were talking and doing and being in energetically back in the month of October. Mercury retrograde can bring an elder sibling from the past back to you with communications or phone calls, can bring a friend that you haven't heard from in a long time back to you, and calls, phone calls, and information from that friend, particularly all this November 19th to 29th during the actual retrograde time. With this retrograde as well, you might be revising, revisioning, and rethinking some of your long-range goals, your dreams, and your plans. Now, with Venus there, it could involve revisioning, rethinking, and revising plans or themes to do with your career, because Venus is a ruler of your 10th house of career. So it's got a lot of career and work kind of vibe going here, but Venus also rules the house of romantic love. And particularly on the 19th, 20th, there's going to be a shocking surprise, right? Because we have that Venus exiled from the house of romance and Mercury, the communication structures. So there could be some communication from somebody from your past to do with sex, love, and romance, and you're surprised and shocked by it. That would be okay. That would be something. And Mercury he will retrograde all the way back to 20 degrees of Scorpio, indicating, if possible, even hearing back from a former spouse at some point, where Jupiter's sitting in Cancer. And I'm going to do a special whole video on the week of the Kite because it's just too much to put into this video. But you may have some surprises about fertility and children. Like, in other words, your children are pregnant. And it's not a negative surprise, just an unexpected surprise. But things to do with your children really act up, and you have to go back, revise, rethink, consider things about your children you might have been thinking about in October. Now you have to really go back and think about it. We're talking adult children, obviously, right? In terms of pregnancy. But Venus is not in great shape. So if your child gets pregnant, they didn't expect it, maybe, or they weren't planning for this time frame. Maybe that's the story. All right, that's what I've got for you. We're moving on. Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. First thing I want to point out is that we have Pluto in our sign. It's like the red elephant. It's the elephant in the room, guys. Pluto's in our sign. What are we going to do, right? We're going to get used to it. And between now and 2044, we are one with Pluto. Transpersonal willpower. Okay. But we also are powerful, and we're out of bounds. We're learning the out of bounds. We're unleashed from the channel of the ordinary. And we're not contained by anything, but we want freedom, for the people. And that's going to influence every Aquarius through to 2044. And we are going to be radically revolutionary in our lives in a way that we won't even know what it is until we look back. We can't compare it because it's never happened. And with that said, every year, starting in 2024 to 2044, Mercury keeps joining or hooking up with Pluto. Remember that expression about exploded beliefs and the need for change, bulldozer road down the center of my mind, right? That's your story. And you're learning to learn that. And so when this conjunction happens in your sign every year, right? And it happened, as I said, last January 29th. It happened before that, February 24th of 24. You are literally transforming your mind. You have, a new level of mental transformation, ideas, changing your philosophical models, exploding your beliefs, right? And as this is going on, and you are having this massive transformation each year, this is the first in a lifetime time the sun is coming out for us. This is the first, praise the Lord. This is the first in a lifetime time that you've ever had, okay, this experience with Mercury sextiling from Sag, the closing sextile. It's almost like you tried to get something to work to explode your mind, so to speak, back in 2024 February, and then January 29th you gave it a second chance, and here we are, the last finale until next New Year, early New Year. It's kind of like this is the 11th house of your career profits and gains, and Pluto is the god of power and wealth. Therefore, there is something that's trying to happen where you want to increase your financial prosperity or your success from the career itself. And you want to do it in some profoundly transformative and regenerative way. But you also have in your 11th house windfalls and pennies from heaven, and Mercury rules the ballot box, and he rules your house of good fortune. All Aquariuses until 2044 stand a chance of winning money in the lottery. This is your turn. Mercury also is in the house of the long range plans, a 5-year plan, the wishes and dreams, the way you want to fulfill your life by thinking forward. And in that possibility, Mercury, Pluto transform those goals and dreams, and they bring it into a much richer and much deeper, more catalytic, energetic. Okay. Finally, friends, allies, benefactors, and a sibling one older. Mercury is traveling through that part of your sky as well. Now, Mercury touched base with Pluto October 30th, like this. Then he retrograde and does it again November 17th. Then he goes direct and does this sextile again on December 12th. Look at those dates. They're going to be important, very important, for you are carrying Pluto inside of you. And it is like you have information coming, news is coming from the sibling one older, if you have one, from a friend, benefactor, or ally, if you've got them, from matters connected to career profitability and gains. And it's news or information that you're going to be able to take possession of. You're going to hear from somebody, something's going to happen, and you're going to take note, and you're going to be, okay, that's really interesting. Because Mars is sitting with Mercury on the November 17th storyline, and Mars likes to cut, end, and sever, there could be some information coming through that wants you to cut out a friend, end a friendship, the friendship ends with you, your sibling cuts you off, and the information is coming at you that way, but it's sharp, but it's also sextile. So you're kind of copacetic, like, yeah, sounds the right way to go to me, right? I'll go with that flow. That works for me. I don't think you're really upset about it. One way that you make money may be terminating here by either by choice or by life circumstance, right? And I'll look forward to this. I'm not sure, because Mars will be on my midheaven. So maybe, I'll get demonetized on YouTube. I don't know. I hope not. Let's cross our fingers. You could also look at this as a time where the energy is asking you to pay attention to the voices around you, right? The groups you associate with, the tribes you choose, and what the voices are telling you that, you need to hear. So look for messages from those people, October 30th, November 17th, and finally, December 12th. Friends from the past you haven't heard from in ages return to you as Mercury heads retrograde here. You may be in touch with those friends. Funny enough, a friend of mine I haven't heard for years, Marcy, texted me today, but now we have a plan to get together and have dinner in December. And it'll be December. Did we say December? Oh, well, so it won't be right in the retrograde because it ends November 29th. So she isn't quite fit, but she's in the pre-shadow period. So the other thing I'd say to you is you might consider the idea that you want during these 3 passes, right, to look at what information is coming to you that feels like the news is a windfall. The information is a reward. It's got a jive positively in the 11th house of good spirit, connected to the house of good fortune that is ruled by Mercury. Also, Mercury is the ruler or the owner of your 8th house of chunky money. Again, unexpected chunks of money. Could you win money? Could there be a windfall? Could there be someone gives you some money? Yeah, any of that's possible during this whole time. Mercury rules the house of children. Maybe some surprising information from a child as a possibility as well. October 30th, November 17th, and December the 12th. Then Mercury will head retrograde, and he will retrograde into your 10th house. Now he was there most of October, and then by October 30th, he had left, October 29th, 30th. But then on November the 19th. He's heading backwards in your 10th house. You might hear from between the 19th of November and November 29th, colleagues, co-workers, bosses, career associates, people from your past connected to your career for out of the woodwork, in they come. You may also notice that's a time where you're going to go back and do things in your career that you've done before, and you're going to redo them or do them again. And finally, then he goes forward, of course, November 29th to December 11th, and you're still in that 10th house mode, and you're working on stuff that you have to pay attention to, but now you know which direction to go. You got mind clarity about it in your career, in your job, in your work. Mercury rules contracts, negotiations, and deals. You might be signing a contract connected to your work, a new contract in your work, revising an existing terms of service contract, who knows? When Mercury first gets backwards into that part of your chart and enters there November 19th, Venus is up there, as you notice, and she rules your 4th house of home and real estate. And there's going to be a shock and awe kite. There may be an unexpected change of home that you didn't see coming. It'll all work out. You got a lot of blessings here, or there may be an unexpected change in career that you didn't see coming. Some shocks and awe, and it may also you might need to change your home or want to change your home because of some career changes that are occurring in the sky. And, Venus is also going to be encountered by Mercury retrograde, and they're going to actually come together in a conjunction, actually. We'll get to that in the week ahead videos. And you might find yourself thinking about, okay, well, Venus is the actual ruler on your chart, the owner of your 9th house. And it could be a book publishing contract or a deal regarding podcasting or a chance to be on somebody else's podcast. If you're on somebody else's podcast as a guest, then the scorpionic, right? It's going to have to do with secrets and conspiracies and hidden things and occult and magical stuff. Amrit Sandhu, Next Level Soul podcast. I'm here. All right. Finally, you could travel to a foreign land as Mercury retrogrades in your 10th house, connected to career, job opportunities, career and work matters as well. That's something you could have happening November 19th to December 11th. Finally, last but not least, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. What are you going to do with this story? Yeah, that's how I say. What are you going to do? Mercury retrograde is a bit of a pain in the ass, but he's magical. Come to my Mercury retrograde webinar. Synchronicities are on steroids. Mercury is making a contract with Pluto in Aquarius every frigging year to 2044. And that Aquarius sky is your 12th house of enlightenment, full Buddhahood, distant shores and foreign lands, self-undoing, karmic contracts, vows of chastity, poverty, whatever, the chains that bind you, past lives, Akashic records. It's very enlightenment-y, full moksha, liberation, Buddhahood. Now, Pluto, Mercury every year, and Pluto out of bounds, breaking the stratosphere, going somewhere no one's gone before. You planted a seed there, February of 24. Another seed was replanted January 29th of 2025. You want to put a lot of energy into the 12th house. You're alone. It's a solitude house. Mind, wanting to be mindfully alone, to be alone to think, to be alone to ponder, to explode your beliefs while you're alone in some solitude. Solitude is called forth for you over and over again with Pluto Mercury energy. This is a closing sextile first in a lifetime. We had none in the first iteration from the 2024 startup. This is because Mercury now is moving through the sign of Sag, while Pluto is still in Aquarius to receive the sextile. And this is a career story or a reputation story. Your 10th house is everything from weddings and wakes to marriage ceremonies to marriage announcements to things to do with your social standing and your public reputation. Like, get a bad reputation, everyone doesn't like you, Epstein, or you get a super reputation and everyone loves you. You're going to be seen in the world as doing something, and it's often your career. So from that 10th house space, you're going to be evolving over the next 20 years until 2044. Mercury on October 30th, November 17th, and December 20th activated Pluto. Pluto is also in a house of hospitals. Mercury rules your house of marriage, South Node. This could be about your significant other and impending or continuing challenges to their health, October 30th, November 17th, and December 12th. And this could also be with Mercury and his power changing your home, because Mercury rules your domicile. And changes in your home to a distant shore or another land. Wouldn't be surprising with this kind of transit, but connect the dots of October 30th, November 17th, and December 12th to see what the story is trying to show you. Mercury retrograde on November the 17th, Mercury retrograde, talking to Pluto, right? With Mars here, cuts, ends, and severs. What does he cut? Mars is squaring your marriage house. Hopefully your marriage is okay. Mars is also potentially opposite your property, land, and real estate that Mercury rules. Some kind of change, dramatic change wants to maybe happen in the home, but it will bring you back in time to October 30th, and it will propel you forward to December 12th. Now, what happens is that Mercury will move backwards into your ninth house and oppose Uranus on the 19th and 20th. And that's a kite, and we'll talk about it separately. And it's got some good elements to it, like the trine, but it has an element to shock or surprise you vis-a-vis a neighbor, a sibling, particularly one younger, aunts, uncles, cousins, or a surprising shock in the social media landscape, online world, digital media, regarding publishing and publishing contracts. And potentially with Jupiter there, you're going to do well. You might win some, great publishing deal, but there's a surprise going on here, Pisces. Mercury's coming into contact in general with the idea of he's going back into your ninth house on November 19th, still retrograding to the 29th. And you may hear from people from your past connected to spiritual communities, connected to religious communities, connected to foreign lands and far off shores. Finally, you may also hear from a sibling that is too older than you, that you haven't heard from in a while, as Mercury retrogrades into that ninth house. November 19th to 29th. On the 29th, he turns direct, and then to December 11th, he finishes up your ninth house story. You might want to look at the ninth house in the context of the, Pluto reset in the 12th, especially around the word belief. Exploding your beliefs and transforming your philosophical models in a profound way during the Scorpio transit between November 19th to 29th, and go back and think about your profound energetic shifts you were trying to put into place in October when Mercury went through this part of your sky in direct motion. Venus is there. She represents romantic love, and she represents beauty and harmony and stuff like that. And she's in a travel house, and she's looking at the third house, which is a travel house. And she's your exaltation lord. And in this regard, as she flows to the nodes of fate, in fact, in a beautiful way, it could be that you're going to travel for a relationship, particularly romantic, but it could also be a significant other. So you're traveling for relationship-based reasons is a possibility. Mercury loves to travel in the ninth house. He's a patron protector of travelers on pilgrimages and travelers on the road. So look to those dates, and I'm going to give it to you again, that potentially between November 19th and the 29th, November 19th to January 11th, you're traveling for a relationship reason. And between November 19th to the 29th, if you plan the trip or travel, it's to a place you've traveled before. If it's a foreign country, it's a foreign country you've been before. Okay. And lastly, Mercury's going to go back into the ninth house of legal and courts and judges, and address unresolved legal issues that you were working through in October, and try to tidy them up between November the 19th and the 29th. But he hits that shocking surprise too. So you could have unexpected surprises in legal matters connected to courts and even lawsuits, right? Mars rules lawsuits. And Mercury's like coming back from a conversation with Mars as well. Yeah, I think that if there's a legal lawsuit and a judge has to decide something for you, then the gains of the judge's decision comes through the 10th house. And with Jupiter in Cancer, there should be a good result for you. I'm going to in the house of good fortune. That's what I got. All right. I don't think I have an outro. You guys know I do these outros, and the sun is setting. It is now 4:13 in Vancouver, Canada. I have a class tonight. I'm guiding, watching one of my guest teachers do relocation astrology. Let me think about something that might interest and entertain you. I sat here and didn't know what to talk about. I looked up and there's a UFO cloud. It literally looks like a bell-shaped UFO, a classic flying saucer tilted sideways. The cloud is exactly the shape of the flying saucer. the classic flying saucer. So just for fun, I'll tell you my flying saucer stories. I have two. I have one really good one and one. So they're both really good actually, because it was pre-drones, right? So back in the day. So I grew up in Northern Ontario. I'm playing in the front yard with my sisters and my boy next door in his front yard at the end of our driveway or whatever. And we both, I grew up in Northern Ontario, pure blue sky day. And there is literally a cloud bank in the north, but the rest of the sky is pretty clear. And we don't have an airport in this small town, and we don't have any air traffic. No, other than like we had helicopters from something called the Department of Natural Resources. But other than that, we had no airplane. So there's no air traffic ever, but we know what air traffic is. We've never had an airplane overhead. And we're all playing, and I look up and I see 3 silver discs. I believe the arrangement was 1 silver disc in the front and 2 behind it, but they were round and they were silver or gray, and they were kind of low. But they were silent. There was no sound. And of course, we were all so excited, and we all remember this. And we called the boy next door, ran into the house to get his mother, but she was napping. By the time she woke up and came out, they had traveled northeast into a cloud bank and were no longer visible. Now, we had a massive hydropower plant station like in my small town that sort of like was a relay station for all the big grids of these big towers and stuff. And back in the 70s, there all this information that UFOs were hovering over power grids and power stations for some reason, and that could have made sense because that was where we were. My house was across the street from the power station. I know I was electrocuted all my life. And then when I was in Washington, D.C., up in the north on River Drive, I think it's called River Drive, way up in Potomac, they had hiking trails way up in the north, maybe about 45 minutes or even longer, and maybe almost an hour north of D.C. And my husband, my son, and I were all going for a hike with our dogs. We had 2 dogs, and we were taking the trails, and I was ahead of everybody. And I got to the top of a cliff. Now, this was 1992, 93. And I literally was having a series of like abduction encounters. I'm an experiencer. I knew John Mack. I was sort of one of his people. I had lots of confirmation. I had experiences. Other people had them around me. It wasn't just me. Things happened to me. People got involved. Anyway, and I was coming into that kind of weird time before I met John Mack. This is before I met him, by a year before I met him, where I was going insane. I was losing my mind. I couldn't believe I was having these memories. I was having these experiences, of gray aliens in my bedroom floating. And I literally looked up on the cliff, and I had said to the aliens, sort of like, mind to mind, psychic, like, if you guys are real, I'm not going insane. Can I have a UFO encounter? Haven't seen one since my childhood years. And then bang, I'm at the top of the cliff. I put this in motion maybe a week before, and I'm by myself, and over my head, silently gliding, is not a flying flat silver disc. It's more of this shape. It's more bulbous, almost like a Christmas tree ornament, but more flat, but it wasn't just that saucer look. And I perceived the color more of a kind of pewter or a copper pewter color. And it was deathly silent. And now I'm thinking, I don't have a camera. We didn't have cell phones with cameras back then. And I was calling to my husband and my son to hurry up, get up the cliff. There's something you got to see. Of course they got there and it was gone. Yeah, of course. I'll have a third UFO story. It's because I think I had a positive relationship with whatever these beings were. And I didn't, although I'm traumatized by the non-ordinary, I didn't feel like I was a victim. And when I was in my early 30s, and we lived in DC, same time frame, and there's a skylight over in the bed. We were in the attic bedroom. And the skylight was huge. And we didn't even have a cover. I just slept under the night sky all the time, which was really nice, actually. And so what happened was, it was a low skylight close to the bed. It was an attic, right? And I went to sleep, and I had a doctor's appointment at Walter Reed Hospital, where my doctor was. Can you believe my doctor was at Walter Reed? She was. And because I was having all these fibrocystic breast lumps and stuff, women, I was probably drinking too much soy lattes. I stopped the soy lattes. I had estrogen dominance or something. But my doctor had given me a trip to visit a surgeon back then, just to have a look at one of the bumps. And she said, "Oh, this is nothing." And she said, and she gave me a teaching breast that they use for medical students. And she said, "I want you to feel this and feel that." She said, "This is what a problem feels like." And what she was trying to show me mostly is it felt like pebbles or sand in your breast. If you felt something in your breast that felt hard, like a rock, like a pebble, like a piece of sand, a grit of sand, that would be concerning. Not what I had, which was fibrocystic spongy breasts. But maybe about a year after I had that learning by the surgeon in the early 90s in DC, I had one of those. Oh my God, this is really hard. This is like what she told me to watch for. It was like hard compared to anything I'd ever felt before. And it was like maybe about here. And I'm like, okay, well, I got to get a doctor's appointment. So I had my doctor's appointment scheduled with Walter Reed doctor. I had to wait 2 weeks to see her. I was going to go in and have her look at it because, of course, I was absolutely terrified that I had something serious. And I probably did, because then what happened was I went to sleep one night anxious the night before my doctor's appointment. I had a dream. I thought it was a dream that there was a UFO over the skylight. And the UFO through the skylight shot a red beam. I think it was red. It could have been green, but I think it was red. I have dream journals. It's all written down. I have to dig them out of boxes. And it zapped the laser beam right to my chest, like zap. And then the morning I woke up from the dream and like, that was a weird dream. I must be really anxious about this diagnosis. And then I looked at myself, and where there was nothing before, it's not like I had a pimple or a scratch there or anything. I was just under the skin. There was this hard, gritty piece of, something under my, inside here. And it was red, but it wasn't just red. Have you guys ever picked a scab? And, it's you didn't pick it when it was going to bleed. So there's no hole in your skin. It's when the scab comes off and you've got this bright pink skin where something's healed. It was a really tiny little circle. I can't tell you what it was. It was way smaller than a dime, I guess. But, I'm a centimeter in diameter, maybe, or 2, I don't know. And that skin looked like brand new skin after something heals after you've injured yourself. And it was perfectly round. It wasn't like a jagged wound or anything. And then I canceled my doctor's appointment because this was gone. I afraid to do the punchlines. I pressed in there. There was no grit, no bump, no lump. It was completely gone. I called my doctor and said, I'm fine. I don't need to see you. And they said, no problem. Thanks for calling us. And that's my story. Started off with the UFO, ended up with a miracle healing. There you go. Make of it what you will. Life is magical. Life is not, nothing is what it seems. And the aliens are not out to get us. Atlas 3i Atlas. I will talk about that again in another video. I write about it at Substack. There is a cover up of some kind on the Mars photos because China took photos too, and they're not revealing them. It's not just because NASA's out to lunch on a shutdown. Something else is going on. I don't know we're ever going to know what this thing is, but it's not what it's. I think that we're going to find out eventually, but I don't trust photos coming out anymore. Photos that were taken by the high-res cam orbiting Mars by the United States, they're not going to give us those photos. If there's something we're not supposed to see that no scientist would analyze it and go, oh, this ain't a comet or anything, then they're going to tamper with those photos somehow. So we'll, it'd be like the JFK files. We'll finally find out 30 years later what the thing was. So I don't know. It would be a black swan event in the markets if it was proven to be an interstellar spacecraft or an interstellar probe with technology or anything like that. It would, because so many people, at least that's what the big people think. Black swan, shock to the system, all the world religions, people rioting in the streets, the stock market collapsing, wars building up because there's no God. I don't know. Like, I don't think people think that way. I think people are much more intelligent that would go, oh, that's really damn cool. I always suspected there was life beyond Earth. And do I think this thing is here to attack us? Absolutely not. Nor do I think it is a Palm Gregory where it's got this like cosmic vibe that's now changing us to a new level of DNA activation. I sometimes laugh at that stuff because it's not that it's not always true. Okay. I'm not picking on just her. There are other channels like that. It's just that it's not only that, it is a thing an object in our space, in our solar system that came from somewhere. We don't really know where, because if its trajectory isn't steady, if it moves its trajectory, then we don't really know where it came from. And it's not like, it's like astrology is a weird mirror. Like Mars is a planet and it affects us on Earth, and it's a template for our experiences of aggression individually and collectively. But this thing doesn't have a role in our solar system. It's outside of our solar system. So we can't make a code from it like Mars. We don't know what it means astrologically. We have no symbolic astrological meaning for it, other than there's an intrusive, foreign, investigative, weird energy coming into the solar system. But it's not templated on our birth charts. You see, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter are templated on us being born under their light. And the planets are translating the light of the sun, right? And the stars behind them. And so this thing isn't going to ascend us. Okay. I don't see that. I just don't see that. I just think that's like, I don't think it's DNA activating us. It is influencing the sun. Go to see Stefan Burns in my more solar storms, more this, more that, more coronal mass ejections, whatever. It is influencing the sun. And the sun is a part of our ecosystem and our spiritual ecosystem. So in that way, it influences us, but not directly. And that thing had a signature, a heat signature hotter than the sun. It was the color blue, I think. And for it to be the blue it was meant it was hotter than the sun in the measuring devices they had as it went through its perihelion closest to the sun approach. And for an object to be hotter than the sun makes no sense, according to astronomers. So it's very mysterious. Thanks for listening. That's a very rambling outro. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Well, I'll get my sister called UFOs and Comet Atlas, and that should cover it. And the miracle healing is a little bit of a side hustle. Ciao, ciao. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'd love you to support the channel. Thank you. It looks like my channel is slowing down. And that's okay. I'm enlightened these days. But, I just watched Steve Judd for 1 month not get past 129,000. He stayed there for a month. So something's going on. Something's happening here with YouTube and our channels. So please like and subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed. Share with friends and family. I appreciate that. Thanks.